I think we had everything set up for over here.
Just for you to know who will take part in the interview, this is Christine Gorman, Scientific American.
Hi.
Yassine Imane, young scientist of our meeting and also a guest blogger for us.
Hello.
Miss Alinda Waltjes, from freelance journalist from the Netherlands. Mariana Alves from Portugal, radio. Netta Ahito from Highlands newspaper, and Kathleen Raven also blogging for us. So have fun.
Thank you.
And after that's all, basically.
That's the last one.
Because you're tired.
No, I'm just asking.
So,
To organize myself, that's all.
You were interviewing with a French radio?
Yeah, they were speaking French.
Yeah.
I am not sure it's a French radio, by the way, but they were speaking
okay.
French. It's for Switzerland.
Okay, yeah.
I'll start with basic question. You're from France and a woman, which are two, they're not very common around here. Most are men from the US. Did you find it hard in particular, mostly being a woman scientist? Do you try, to correct it in taking women postdocs or graduate students or in any way? And I've heard you have a story about wedding in the lab or something regarding this subject.
Okay. When I started in the 70s, so a long time ago, you can imagine that the view of a woman in science was really far from now.
Yeah.
We were not speaking at the time about equity or this kind of thing. It was considered as, let's say, normal that the highest position were for the male.
Yeah.
And the lowest position for the female. It was how I started my career, let's say. So, yes, it was very hard. When I asked this very simple question to a decision maker in my institute after my PhD, he answered to me, you don't really think to make a career in science? I said, of course, yes, I'm thinking about it. He said, you're kidding, you're female.
Did you call him after the Nobel Prize?
No, but he called me later on, and I told him at that time. Anyway, so it's to give you a flavor of the spirit at that time. Of course, I persist. I decide that like others, we will try to do our best to show the male that women can do science and can make a good job. I think all over the year it has been a wonderful progress. Even if you look the number of Nobel Prize, it's increasing all over the year, the number of women, fortunately, which is great. And today in my own institute, I think it's more than 30% of the women that have the highest level in my institute. At that time in the 70s was less than 5.
Wow.
So it's progressing. You were asking if I had postdoc students, female, of course, but I don't really look myself, to tell you the truth, female or male, I don't care. I'm really caring about motivation, passion, people that like, to really be ready to make a lot of investment. To give the best of themselves for making progress in science. That is the most important thing for me, male or female.
So, your career has been in parallel with HIV. You are known for your work in HIV. And in the beginning, in the 1980s, there was a lot of pessimism about whether HIV would ever be cured. Even today, there's still not a cure, but there seems to be renewed optimism. Do you think that's naive? Do you think it's realistic?
No, I'm not going to say it's naive because I'm the one who is at the origin of the initiative towards an HIV cure of the International AIDS Society, because I really thought now it was a little bit more than 4 years ago, that according to the data that we have from the literature, it was really time to try to accelerate, to better coordinate research in that area in order to go faster. From my experience in the early 80s, when the scientists are working together, I know how fast they can be. If they are working separately, I know that it will take more time. So it's I'm quite optimistic, not for a cure. The reason I prefer to say towards an HIV cure, that does not mean exactly the same for me. I am very optimistic regarding remission. I personally believe that we can be successful in developing a strategy for clinical remission, a treatment that the patient will be able to stop and continue to have their virus control and do not transmit to others. That I'm sure we can be successful in that.
What would be the best way to proceed to that?
I don't have any magic bullet, you know. I don't know. I don't know. There is several strategy for that that I will present, by the way, tomorrow. Is to try to treat very early on. This is the Visconti patient or the Mississippi baby patients treated very for the baby at birth, and after 6 months without any treatment, the baby has no virus detectable anymore. The Visconti patients, they were treated during the primary infection, around 10 weeks of primary infection. For 3 years they stopped their treatment. Now it's 9 years later and they are without any treatment. They are doing perfectly fine. So it's this kind of approach. Very very early treatment, it's an option. In my opinion, it's not feasible at large scale. So that means that we have to find another option, because how to detect so early people that get infected, it's almost impossible. So we have to understand from the early patient, we have to understand from elite controllers. There are the approaches to try to reactivate the reservoir where the virus is latent. Some approaches are ongoing. Anti-cancer drug like Vorinostar, for example. The last data are less promising than the ones that were presented, let's say, a year ago. So the field is moving. It's not, as I said before, I don't think we have the right approach today, but we are learning. It's how science is moving, you know. We are learning from the anti-cancer drug. We are learning from a vaccine as well. The study in animal models with a vaccine based on CMV vector inducing very good T-cell response, showing that the size of the reservoir in the monkey is significantly decreased. The study with broadly neutralizing antibodies in the US by least several groups, not only two, by the way, several groups, including the group of Michel Nissenweit and Dan Baruch. I mean, they are really promising, showing that maybe broadly neutralizing antibodies should be associated in the therapeutic strategy of the future. I mean, we are learning, first we have to test anyway separately, and then to combine. So it's a long way to go. It's not for tomorrow. I was a little bit upset when I saw the announcement of the AMFAR in the United States, a cure in 2020. I said, my God, I'm really furious, by the way. I'm going to talk with Kevin Frost about that. They should not do that. I can understand that it's for fundraising, it's good to make such thing, but
that is dangerous.
But for people living with HIV, we should not do that.
Okay,
we cannot do that.
Yeah, ma'am, when you started working on the virus in the 70s and 80s, did you then expect that it would be a pandemic of such a scale at this point of time?
Not at all. When we started to work on AIDS in early 80s, we have no information at all. In my country, in France, we had about 50 patients with AIDS or with AIDS-related symptoms. Like in US or in other countries, we had the information that mostly the people affected were gay, were drug users, were even Haitian. And we really started a little bit later on, if I remember correctly, in 84, 85, to realize the situation in Africa. And we were totally wrong in thinking that it was particular populations that were affected by this disease. Diseases were called the 4H disease: hemophiliac, heroinoman, homosexual, and Haitian. This was a terrible mistake. Heterosexual should have been included in the fifth H. That was a terrible mistake that we are still paying today. For me, still we have terrible discrimination against those populations, which is not helping for access to tests and early treatment of those populations. So this is something. This is one of the fights that we have to win absolutely. The fight against stigmatization and discrimination if we want to fight this disease.
And you were talking about the advertising of a possible cure. Is it dangerous because people start to take less care and not being protected, and then the virus spreads more?
No, not immediately, because the treatment is not yet available, so I will not say now, but I always think it's not ethics to give hope to people that are affected by an infection, HIV or any other infection, when we don't know really what is the date that we will have a treatment like that. So I don't think we should say any dates. This has been done for vaccine, okay? Many times, every 5 years, people were saying, oh, we will have an HIV vaccine within the next 5 years. 5 years later, not yet, maybe in the next 5 years. This is ridiculous. I don't think we should give such hope when we don't know. It's so simple to say we don't know. What I know is that I said at the beginning, for sure, if we work better together, the scientists, if we also, the funders, at international level, work better as well together with more coordinated action, more exchanges, work together also with people living with HIV. Because, we are speaking about strategy for cure.
Wasn't it?
But it's not easy today to ask people living with HIV who are on treatment, doing perfectly well, would you like to test a new strategy? You are doing perfectly well, you have a normal life. Do you accept? Maybe it will be toxic, you know?
This is what happened at the beginning with the.
Yeah, but at the beginning
Yeah,
it was
the
nothing.
early days.
Today they have treatment and they are doing perfectly fine. The situation is totally different
Yeah.
these days.
Do you have a? Have you seen the movie The Dallas Buyers Club?
I know, I heard about it, but I didn't see it.
Is there an AIDS film that you think is most accurate?
Don't ask me about movie because I have no time to go.
Okay. Well,
ma'am,
my follow-up question is, do you think that clinical trials today have a good design?
The clinical trials, I mean, they are very well regulated.
But placebo controlled.
But placebo, it depends, really. In some study, you have no choice. I mean, you need a placebo, otherwise you should not start the study because you will not have the answer. So, I mean, it's I will not answer to a simple question like that. It's really depending of the trial. You cannot say, no placebo. Maybe in some situation you can accept placebo. It depends. It depends of the question. It depends of the trial of the drug. So it's not so simple. But it's very well regulated. I mean, these days. Sometimes people say it's even too much regulated because, of course, it's taking a lot of time to make application and to make sure that we are answering to all the questions of the regulation. This is normal, by the way. For me, it's totally accurate to have this kind of approach. But we have to progress at the same time. It's a reason why I really think, as I was saying, that working together with representative of people living with HIV is still critical for me. Thank you. We are speaking of strategy, define strategy ourselves, the scientists, but we have to understand better what are the patient's expectations, what they are ready to accept as a strategy, yes or no. Because why to develop as scientist strategies that the people living with HIV will not be ready to use? So it's all these kind of questions that are important to work on it, in my opinion, immediately, even if we don't have the strategy. It's a reason why at the International AIDS Society we define a scientific roadmap, but we started already a group of social scientists working together with representatives of people living with HIV to have projects raising this kind of question about patient expectation, about people living with HIV acceptability of different strategy. We have another group working on cost efficacy because we want a treatment that will be affordable for everyone in the world. We don't want only a treatment only for United States or for Europe or for Australia. We want a treatment for everyone. So I mean, we need already to anticipate. That's my my position today. I say let's anticipate as much as we can, because the day we will have the strategy, then we will go faster because we anticipated before. Unfortunately for HCV treatment, which is a revolution, they had no time to anticipate. The treatment arrived without any anticipation about the cost, so now they have to do everything at the same time.
And in some ways, the HCV treatment, they learned from research into HIV.
Exactly, and now we are learning from them,
Yes, ma'am,
which is good.
Yeah. So another question, you talked about treatments that are affordable, not just in the United States or some parts of the United States or France.
Yeah, not
or
everybody in the
right.
United States
Can
can afford. Yes.
There has been not discussion about the Mississippi baby, but also the Berlin patient. Can we recreate that kind of, through genetic therapies, recreate an immunity to
For the
HIV?
Berlin patient, as you know, the Berlin patient receive several bone marrow transplants,
Right.
and from a very special donor with a mutation in CCR5.
But now they're trying to
Yeah, but
with
you-
zinc fingers make the CCR5.
Yeah, this is a gene therapy
or
approach.
The CRISPR,
This is a gene therapy approach, which are very interesting for me as a proof of concept. However, if you think that tomorrow this kind of approach will be applicable everywhere, my answer is no.
Okay, ma'am.
It will be too expensive. It will be too complicated to be used in a resource limited setting.
Ma'am, where I come from India. Like you said, the question of affordability is very important. Like for HIV, we see one dimension is that scientific aspect of pharmacology, technical aspects, and the other is behavioral. We can target the high-risk groups. So, ma'am, regarding behavioral interventions, what would you say about that? Are they as important or more important? The scientific?
Everything is important in HIV. Everything has to be integrated. Working on behavior is part of prevention.
Mm-hmm.
For prevention, we recommend combined approach. If we combine different approach, of course, changes together with the use of condom, together with circumcision, together with an expansion of access to treatment, which we know it's prevention as well too today. We will decrease the incidence of infection in all the countries in the world.
How do you explain the big difference in numbers between Africa and the West? Is it only lack of funds and medicine? Is it
You cannot
policy?
speak about Africa globally as you do.
Okay, different countries.
Because you have different situation in Africa.
Okay. South Africa.
You are speaking about South Africa or Botswana, but if you look at a country like Senegal, you know that Senegal, the prevalence of infection is less than 5%, less than 1% in Senegal, less than in Washington DC, by the way. So you see, in Africa, you can have a prevalence or an incidence of infection less than the industrialized country.
Okay.
So it's we should not speak globally like that, and we have to be careful, because for the public, then they say, "Oh, Africa, this is terrible."
Yeah.
They are bringing all the health threat to everywhere in the world,
Yeah.
which is not true. Some country can be affected, some cannot. Like we can be affected by a disease one day, and you can be in United States, not in Europe, and the opposite. I mean,
So
that's
rephrase
life.
it. The difference between countries, is it due to policy and lack of access to
It's due.
medication?
It's always a mixture of different things. It's not one cause. Is political willingness. It's always a very important issue to take into consideration, but it will not work alone. And we have seen that, by the way, in Botswana in the past, where they had a very strong political willingness to make services available to all the Africans, but they did not have doctors, they did not have health professionals. So, the reason I'm saying it's not sufficient political willingness.
What do you think of circumcision as a way of combating HIV in Africa? It's
As
quite
I will
popular
repeat
lately.
exactly what I said, circumcision alone will not work, because it's only 60% of protection, but circumcision associated to other preventative measure, yes. And I mean, it's really scientifically proven, and the last data that will be presented in, I should not say that. No, I'm stopping. No, because that will be presented in Melbourne this month.
How do you select the young students to work with you? What do you seek in them when you have to accept
motivation? If they are motivated, that's the main criteria. Yeah, motivation for sure. If they are passionate,
and you can see by talking with them.
you can see by talking with them. When they don't take themselves too seriously. That is another criteria for me.
So now is the time maybe to talk about the wedding in the lab.
Although I was simply working in the lab the day of my wedding.
Okay, this is
Before the ceremony?
Before the ceremony, in France it's always a Saturday morning, and I used to go to the lab all the Saturday morning. So that day, like every Saturday, I was in the lab, and I received a phone call from my person who was supposed to become my husband, and he did, at something like 11 or 11:30 in the morning, telling me all the family is there. You know that the ceremony at the city hall, it's at noon. Do you think you are going to make it? Oh my God, it's already more than 11. I did not see what time it was. I arrived immediately. I was on time.
And you consider yourself and considered by others as an activist scientist. You've probably been asked that a lot, but still, do you think all scientists should be also activists? Should strive and change the world? Should leave their lab and?
It's a little bit ambitious to say that you will change the world, because I don't think we
Try.
can. At least we can participate. That's my only point. And I feel it's part of our responsibility as a scientist, because our goal, at least people like me working in biomedical science, we are trying to develop tools for the benefit of people living with a disease, HIV or any other disease. When we feel that we have done our job, like we did, I think, globally and international level for HIV, and when you see that those tools are not still available to people in need, then you become an activist.
Did you have a role model?
Biggest frustration?
Hmm?
Would that be your biggest frustration?
It's more than a frustration.
Yes.
I am angry. I'm furious. It's more than frustration. It's not a personal
And
frustration.
who are you furious
I
at?
don't accept it. That's all.
Uh-huh.
I think there is a responsibility of other people that the people did not take. So of course, the voice is to push those people to take their responsibility.
Did you have a role model or an inspiration at the time when you took up research science? Did you have someone you especially looked up to?
Oh, several, probably. We always have people that we admire as scientists, especially when we are young. Yeah, certainly. Several, not only one.
Do you name any?
No, because there are several of them, and I don't want to forget one.
What is the name of the a research paper you will publish in 5 years?
For myself,
Yeah.
I will retire, so I will not write a scientific paper.
What do you think will be the title of your last scientific paper?
My last scientific paper, I don't know, but it will probably be around HIV cure, and maybe a link between cure and vaccine.
Sorry?
Because I really think that this link between both is very important. And during the last years, because probably of all the action around HIV cure, it has been not the scientists, I think, themselves, but some people put in opposition vaccine research and cure research, and really this is a mistake in my opinion. Both are important and both should work together. So, but I might also write a paper on the repressive measure in Nigeria, Uganda, and and Russia. You know.
Would you ever run for office?
What do you mean for
An elected office, either in the French government or the European Parliament?
No, I'm not interested in that. My vision is that you can be more active if you don't have this kind of position than if you have the position. I remember I had that discussion with a former Minister of Health in France, and she told me that one day. She said, "Look, Francoise, if one day you have any proposal to take the position of Ministry of Health or Ministry of Science or whatsoever, my recommendation to you is don't take it. You can do so much when you don't have this kind of position. When you are there, it's finished."
You have
So I heard her voice, and I think she was right.
So no politics. What else would you like the most besides science? Maybe if you would have not been a virologist, what would you have been today? Besides science, you love?
Probably I would have been a doctor. Probably.
Do you
A doctor working in the developing countries.
do you have any advice you can give to young students of biomedical sciences?
The advice to be persistent. Never never be depressed. Just continue, just go on. It will be a lot of obstacles on your way. But if you are really motivated, passionate by what you want to reach, you will fight and you will overcome all the obstacles.
And so, if we reach some pinnacle of science, if we get the cure for HIV, will it be dangerous to be very happy because it might slow us down?
If no, because it's never finished. Even if there is a cure for HIV, it will be some other disease. I'm very much also interested these days in the fact that HIV, even if it's solved, the infection is solved, I think HIV is also a wonderful tool to understand other diseases. Like non-communicable disease, for example. You know that on long term in HIV patients, they develop cancer, they develop non-communicable disease, metabolic disorders, and this kind of thing. And I'm sure that and this is something that I'm interested in, is try to push the scientists to work together, HIV and non-HIV researchers because I'm convinced we can again move faster if we work together.
Because HIV has taught so much about the immune system.
Yeah, because of the impact of HIV or HIV component on alteration of immune function, inflammation. I mean, one of the key determinant of HIV infection is inflammation, and in all of the other disease, inflammation is a key factors as well. So I'm sure we can really make progress and try to understand better all the mechanisms that result in abnormal inflammation.
In the very, very early days of HIV research, there was a rivalry between U.S. and French researchers, and I remember U.S. researchers were making jokes about why you and Professor Montagnier were looking at inflammation in activating the infection. Of course, you were proved correct. Can you talk a little bit about those times?
The controversy? Not at all.
No. But I mean,
not interested by that.
No. But I mean, in terms of rivalries, there are still rivalries. You hear about it with the immunology prize recently. It should have gone to this or it should have gone to that. There will always be rivalries in science. How do you navigate those?
I think the answer to this kind of situation is science itself. My answer to this is data. It's the only solution for me. Accumulate data. That's all. The rivalry between human beings, I'm not interested personally. I'm more interested by the data and the progress in science.
Tomorrow, after your lecture, Professor Zinkenagel will deliver a speech, and he says immunology has become more laag pour laag, and we are too much into basic immunology. Do you share this view or not?
I think we still need, but I'm not immunologist myself, he is. From outside, let's say, it seems to me that there is plenty of basic question in immunology for which we do not have the answer.
No, I noticed in your speech that your strong emphasis on basic research.
Yes.
So
Because generally, I mean, all the solution is coming from basic science. It's coming from our knowledge on the mechanism, and then we can define strategy based on the mechanism. So it seems to me that in immunology, for example, what was said this morning by Hoffman, we are far to understand, also Butler, we are far to understand very well how innate immunity interact with adaptive immunity. It's still a lot to understand. All the very basic mechanism of signaling between all the actors of innate immunity and adaptive immunity, for me, are far to be fully understood. And this is basic immunology. For me, I cannot. I mean, vaccine. To simply say a vaccine is efficient if it induces broadly neutralizing antibody, I don't believe in it anymore. Probably because of HIV. It's just a correlation, which is good to have correlation. But what are the mechanisms? How to induce such a broadly neutralizing antibody if we need them? Are they sufficient to have protection? It's all these kind of questions. For me, I don't have the answer.
You have
I would love to have the answer, but I
No,
don't.
but I noticed that in your initiative towards an HIV cure, you focus on the entire chain of immunology, in fact. Of
Immunology,
not just
virology,
research.
molecular signaling, everything.
So, do you strongly support teams that have all aspects in that? Sure. Yes.
Sure. For example, in US, I mean, after we launched the initiative, the NIH made some call for consortium in US, and there are more than 3 now consortium. The Martin Delaunay consortium, which are multidisciplinary science, public and private sectors, basic science, clinical research working together. So it's exactly the spirit of this kind of consortium, and I personally believe it's a way to go. Yeah.
And are you satisfied with the progress of the initiative so far?
If I look within only 4 years, how many consortium has been developed, the level of the funding as well for cure research, yes, I'm quite pleased to see that it's a real mobilization of the community on the cure aspect, which is good. And now we have to be closer to vaccine. And I'm starting to work on that with IAV in United States.
How do you manage your time between? You have published more than 240.
Don't ask me how I manage my time because I don't know myself.
Between traveling to Africa or to wherever. Okay.
Don't
I'll
know.
let you be.
I don't manage my time anymore. This is awful. This is terrible.
You managed to do a lot. And
I'm trying to do my best. That's all I can
Very
say.
efficient.
I sleep very little. I fortunately have a lab with a senior scientist responsible of team in my lab. I'm at the end of my career in science. In France, it's mandatory to take your to retire, and they already gave me 3 more years. So I mean, the lab is running by itself. Let's say it's just a few questions from time to time to me, but that's nothing. Trying to continue a little bit with Africa and Southeast Asia. The International AIDS Society, it's a heavy part, especially with the cure initiative in addition. But it will be the end will be in Melbourne. I will not be president anymore after the Melbourne conference. I will probably continue for 2 more years because I will be immediate past president, and I will continue for cure if the group wants. I mean, there is no obligation.
so you'll continue with activism.
Yes, and yeah, this kind of thing I will continue for sure in relationship with NGOs, communities that I'm in contact with, either in US, in Europe, or in different countries in the world. I just wrote a letter to Greece, to the new Ministry of Health.
Professeur, je vous ai interviewé il y a 30 ans à Paris avec le grand conférence de SIDA en 1984.
84, avec
Et vous avez, oui, vous avez exactement raison, c'est en 84 qu'on a commencé à savoir qu'il y avait tellement de SIDA en Afrique. Et j'étais toujours très prise par votre honnêteté et votre humour. Humeur. Alors, merci.
Ça n'a pas changé.
Ça n'a pas changé, ça n'a pas changé. Alors, merci beaucoup pour tout ce que vous avez fait.
Merci à vous. Merci d'être encore là.
Ma'am, I have a little something for you. Could you just continue the recording just 2 seconds? Okay, ma'am. This is called the gamucha. I come from India, the northeastern part of India. Here.
Then I can take a
So this is it's a hand-woven towel. Yes, that's used for our guests. So this is for me from India to you.
Thank you very much. That's kind of... From where in India are you?
I'm from the northeastern part of Assam. Any plans to come to India, ma'am? Anytime?
Well, I've been several times in
Anytime
India.
soon again?
No, I was in India in February.
Oh.
Can I take a picture with you too? Very good.
Thank you so much.
I'm a biochemistry student, that's why I was asking
Okay.
the advice.
I was a biochemist in biochemistry at university as well.
That's good to
Then I
hear.
moved to virology.
I took a couple.
Not with India. Toujours là. Toujours là. 30 ans après.
1, 2, 3.
No.
Great.
Can I have your signature?
Yeah, I was going to ask that.
Like, ma'am, I need to use this for my college magazine. So, could you just write a message? I'm studying at medical college. So, I mean, if anything for the students, for me, anything.
Do you want me to take a picture with you?
No,
okay.
not of me. No.
Okay. Nee.
I'm terrible at pictures.
Ik spreek een beetje Nederlands. Met mijn man is Nederlander. Ja. De Utrecht. Yeah, he's from Utrecht. Yeah, but Raven is not a very Dutch last name.
And he lives in the US?
Yeah, we live in New York. Yeah.
So.
But he won't speak Dutch with me, so I'm still learning.
Gaat heel goed.
And thank you for the inspiration.
Can I have your mail? They were giving us this. But it's good for taking all the signatures. It's a lot of space. Can I have your mail IDs?
And we need you because, you know, we're starting to be old.
Yeah, sure.
So you are
Your
the next
email
generation.
today or tomorrow?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Very good.
Can I have your card?
Thank you very much.
Would you mind just posing a little bit?
Where? Here?
Oh, well, yes.
Thank you so much. I'll mail you. My name is Yassine.
And keep your eyes open, please.
Hello. Do you have a card?
Oh yes, I do. Very good questions.
Cool. It's supposed to be a very nice weather.
Yes. Oh yes. One second.
Later in the week, I hope it's
We can share some photos and stuff.
really freezing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, sure. I'll mail you then.
Okay.
And it was warmer in French.
Not
Coimbra, do you know? No, it's the center seat. It's a small. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll mail you from
last time I came
Okay,
here, it
thank
was
you.
very nice.
Yeah.
It was warm. It was,
Oh,
yeah.
very good.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, thank you.
Thank you very much. Very nice.
Yeah, I'll send you the
Okay, I'll
pictures.
see you. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
My batteries of the recorder.
Uh-huh.
I had like 4 extra, and I don't know what happened. They weren't full, so the record I just had to record with this.
You need a